Behind every man are battles that nobody sees. Today, we're going to get real about the struggles that shaped us.
If you've ever fought silent battles and wondered, is this for me? You're not alone. This one's definitely for you.
Welcome to Brotherhood Forged. Real talk about real life, leadership, marriage, and faith.
I'm Paul, that's Joey. Two ordinary guys chasing Jesus and trying to lead well.
We built this space for honest conversations, hard growth, and true brotherhood.
If you're about faith, grit, and showing up when it's tough, then you found a new home.
Our verse, Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. That's what we live.
We're here to sharpen each other and have a blast while we do it.
If you're feeling it, share it, leave a review, help us reach more brothers.
Let's roll.
Today's going to be a little bit of a deeper conversation. The first one obviously was just Paul and I telling a little bit about ourselves. We're going to dive into some things that have impacted us in a way, and I don't want to give it all away, but it's going to be a little more impactful today, I do believe.
I would agree as well, man.
Before we get into the main topic, I just wanted to be honest with you. I'm fighting imposter syndrome just a little bit, but I know that's a side that I'm not going to listen to. I think everyone probably deals with that. And the first time I'd ever heard of imposter syndrome was about 6 or 7 years ago. I was actually at I'm in IT for a higher education. I was at a conference out in Vegas. In one of the small groups, they had a speaker talking about imposter syndrome. And although I didn't know what it was, man, could I relate to it. Because I feel it sometimes in my job. I say probably most people do. But I feel it in this as well. I don't think that's a voice that we need to listen to. I think it's just a natural human fear.
I agree, man. I think it's unfortunately something that's so natural to all of us to feel that way and to allow negative self-belief and doubt to take over. And it's just a reminder to us that as we keep going, man, we can't fall into that because we do have so many people that believe in us and support us. And if we allow that to take over, if we allow it to take over our space and say, well, I'm not going to do it, man, because I'm not qualified, then we're shutting ourselves off to the potential that we have. And there's a podcast I listened to, Ed Milet and Damon West talked about different things that you go through in life. Now, their situation was different exactly how it was. He talked about most often it's the things that you're the least proud of that qualify you to help the next person. So as we go through this, it's not always going to be the things that we're the least proud of, but it's the life things that we've gone through and the experiences and the wisdom that we got that will qualify us, quote unquote, qualify us. I don't think anybody's truly ever fully qualified, right? Unless you're like a doctor, obviously. But when you go through stuff like this, it's like, don't allow yourself to disqualify yourself, to shut off that potential. Use the stuff that you've learned throughout life, the wisdom, the experiences, the friendships, the bonds, and use that to quiet down that negative self-talk.
Totally agree. I really have nothing to add to that because you just said it so well. Negative self-talk, something I've battled all my life, but I just refuse to give into it. All right, Paul. So before we get started, I just want to do what we always do. I want to ask the Lord's blessing over this podcast and over our lives, okay? Father, thank you for this opportunity today to speak life into anyone that may need it out there, God. We don't take it lightly. We thank you for an opportunity to be fathers and husbands, and we just ask you to guide us today and let us, whatever we do, to glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, man. You got to give it up to our Creator first. And that's really important to me. I know it's important to you as well. So real quick, we'll talk about, because we did speak in the first episode about the Dad Edge, but as you mentioned, we didn't really explain it. So it's called the Dad Edge Alliance, and I'm going to let Paul kind of give an intro to it. So go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we missed the mark to kind of give people the opportunity to find out more about it. So this is definitely where we want to give you that space. The Dad Edge Alliance is an online mastermind where men find brotherhood, accountability, and tools to become better husbands, fathers, and leaders for their families, for their communities, where you can find real strength because that's built together, not alone.
Yeah, it's a mastermind. Most of you have heard of a mastermind. Like Paul said, it's for men committed to growth, whether you're a dad or not a dad, husband or divorced. You don't have to be any of those things. There's no qualifications like that. If you decide to join, you will be vetted, so they will talk to you and make sure you're the right fit. But it's really an awesome opportunity. They focus on marriage, parenting, leadership, and growth.
Yep. And one of the cool things too, man, with it being virtually is you can meet anybody from anywhere. Like we got a buddy we're meeting now from Australia. And then look what you and I, the friendship that became possible for us because the virtual accessibility that we have and the opportunities we were given. So now we're creating more opportunities for ourselves and giving back in a way too. So it's definitely a great place to really find I would say find out more about yourself and really kind of step into leadership roles and really see where you're at and where you can evaluate things to get better at. Um, for me, that's exactly why I joined. It's why I wanted to get better. When I became a father and a husband, excuse me, I was about 24, 25 in that very pivotal moment of life. So I just knew that I needed something different to be more accountable, to step out of my comfort zone. Found Larry through Meg Meeker's book, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. And it's a decision that I will never regret because it gave me tools that I don't think I would have found elsewhere at that time in my life. So it's just something that continues to give back to me. So now we're doing this. We're doing this, and I want to continue to give back to others. But why'd you join, man?
Why did I join? Honestly, first of all, it even brought a guy from Ohio and a guy from Michigan to be almost best friends. Paul and I. He's a Michigan
Almost.
guy.
Come on, man.
We're definitely as tight as they get. But yeah, he's a Michigan guy, but he's Michigan State, and I'm a Buckeye fan. So yeah, I wanted to be real clear on that. So I've got some real good friends that are Michigan guys, of course. So we like to razz each other. This year was our year. Last year, we don't want to talk about. But yeah, so the bond is pretty amazing. And I joined simply, Paul, because someone had suggested it to me. I wasn't familiar with Larry's podcast. I wasn't familiar with the Alliance. And it was the best decision I could have made.
Definitely, man.
So we'll put the link in the description and you can learn more about it. I'll put it both in there for the podcast as well as for the actual Alliance. All right, it's time to get into the content today. Today we're going to open up about our struggles that's forced both Paul and I to grow into the men we're both becoming. Paul, you want to get us kicked off here?
Yeah, this was one near and dear to me, man. When I was probably 12 or 13. This took place back in 2003, man. My cousin Josh, he died by suicide. And that's one of those things that as I grow and step into the potential that I have, I think I really have to look back and see the impact that had on me. In a lot of ways, right? Like he was one of my biggest idols. He was like Superman to me. He got me involved in football. Just created a lot of structure in my life throughout that lesson. And as we'll get into later, man, the things I've learned over the years from that and the impact that I hope to have going forward for people because of the reality of seeing someone like that, when you have someone that you put on as an idol like Superman, to know that there can be something not seen, that he's got something going on that bothered him to a point where that's where he was at. It really shaped me in the way that I show up and value relationships and connections. But we'll dive into the lessons that I've learned from that and the way that I continue to hope to leave people. When I interact with people, I really hope to leave them with an impression that that guy cares. It's authentic because I truly believe that people never forget how you make them feel. And that's an impression that my cousin left on me because of how he made people around him feel so much better about themselves. He made them feel special, very important. And that was just a beautiful thing that I've always tried to carry on kind of in his legacy, but more so just to be there for people when they may need it and we may not know that they need it.
Yeah. Caring costs nothing, but it's so valuable, right? I mean, it's something that I'm with you. I try to care. And there's times that sometimes it's effort. Mm-hmm. If I'm real, sometimes it takes effort. It takes effort because sometimes we want to be selfish. But what your cousin, apparently, the impact he made on you, that's real special. And you talked about battles. We don't know what people are going through. So it's always good to think about how we treat people, what we say to the people. Say one's being a jerk in a grocery store. You don't know what they dealt with today. Mm-hmm. Maybe they lost someone. Maybe they found out they had cancer. I mean, there's so many things that can come into play. And you're right, we don't know what people are dealing with. I think back, the first thing that popped in my head was Robin Williams, who I was a huge fan of, right? The guy he was funny. He was probably very rich, seemed to have the world by the tail. And he took his own life as well. And we hear about it all the time. So yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. I know that's painful, even if it was a long time ago.
Thank you, man. Yeah. And to go to that point about Robin Williams, same thing, man. He was a high school football player, high school homecoming king. So on the surface, everything looked great for him, right? He's a good-looking dude. He very popular with ladies, and it's like you would have never guessed that there was something else going on. And it's just that reminder to always, like you said, man, people have bad days. Things come up, things happen. It's just always try to assume the best about people. Always try to assume that they're trying their best with what they have as well. And that's easier said than done because we still have days where we have a bad day too, right? But like you said, man, it costs nothing to care. It costs nothing to be genuine and authentic. And people truly, they'll never forget how you made them feel, good or bad. So it's like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind when you meet people or interact with people? Because you do have that ability to change their day, potentially, right? Based off how you show up and how you interact with them. Reminder too, for men as well. I think that we're really bad about asking for help. And we're really bad about talking what we need to talk about. So if you can try to be a light for somebody like that and try to just be available, you may never know what potential can come from that, or things that they'll share with you based off how you made them feel or how you interacted with them or how you talk to them.
Yeah. Everyone needs that 3 a.m. guy,
Yeah.
right? The guy that you can call 3 a.m. You and I've talked about this a little bit as well. Everybody needs someone that they can turn to. So be that person for somebody else. My story's a little bit different. No, it's a lot different actually, but as we're talking about struggles that have impacted us and really, we feel shaped our lives. And mine goes back to third grade, which I don't know how old that would be, whatever third grade is. I was young. My parents, when they divorced. So my dad was my mother's second husband, and my dad was his third marriage. So I thought life was great up to this point, right? But I remember pretty vividly, and I'm not going to get into all the details. I remember when my dad told us that they were going to get divorced. And this was, I guess, third grade. And the next 3 years, I lived with my mom. And of course, we went to a different school. And I remember in fifth grade, we had come home at one point, and well, mom had moved. She was getting married and moved out of state. So I was forced to live with my dad. And I say forced. I didn't have a choice, but I love my dad dearly. And both of my parents have long since passed in the last 5 years. So nothing against either of them. They just, circumstances, that's what happened. They actually were both married and passed away while married to their fifth spouse. So not a track record that I was looking to catch up to. But I moved in with my dad and my stepmom, and she was very strict. And it was kind of a militant, it felt to me, because I went from living with mom for 2 or 3 years and having really not a lot of structure. I had a lot of freedom to skip school and do those types of things. And this is no slam on my mom whatsoever. She was a single mom and she was doing the best she could. So I just don't want anybody to take that as I'm poor, pitiful me. But it is what it was. So I go from there to a house with my stepmom. Hey, Roseanne. She's still living, and she'll probably be listening to this. It was very structured, and there's a lot of discipline. I had some resistance. So I went to school from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade while living with my dad and stepmom. And I wasn't doing great as a student. Didn't understand a lot of things, didn't understand how to study. I was just kind of going down the wrong hole, if you may. And so they put me in a private high school, Fenwick High School. It was a Catholic school. Stepmom was Catholic. And to that point, I was very introverted, didn't know anybody in the new school. And I thought, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. But as we get on in the conversation, I'm going to take this in a different direction. But it was pivotal for me when that happened. And those next few years were I thought at the time were pretty rough. And I thought, oh, poor pitiful me, and how much of a victim I was. But it doesn't really turn out that way.
Man, I imagine third grade, dude, that's such a pivotal moment too. It's like, you probably don't even know what the word divorce means. And when you have that conversation from your dad, you're like, what does this mean for me? My mom and dad are going to split up. Now I have to potentially go live somewhere else. I might have to live in 2 houses. And then further down the line, you find out you got to go to a different school. So you're going from public school to private school. So if you throw in all those layers of just the confusing information that you're kind of receiving, man, I feel for you, dude, because like I said, it's a very pivotal point, and that could really make or break you. But what's interesting is the decision your stepmother made to have you go to the private school create a structure that you might not have known that you needed.
Yeah, I didn't know I needed it. I didn't even understand that I needed it till probably very late in high school, when I started seeing that, wow, I can do well in school. I can pass tests. I can write things that I thought I would never be able to do. When I say could write, I had some writing skills, right? I learned. I didn't go there without being able to read and write, but it did make a huge difference. And some of the professors, in high school, some of the teachers really did take me under their wing. I remember some that were just very giving of themselves. It made a huge difference.
In a weird way, right? Because no one ever wants to see their parents get divorced, but it's almost like it gave you this different opportunity to really step into a new version of yourself and push yourself to that next level where, like you said, yeah, you knew how to read and write, but were you actually applying yourself to a way that they kind of forced you to based off their standards? So it's crazy to look back on that kind of stuff, man. You never want to minimize a divorce of parents, but to see what became possible based off where that trajectory led for you, it's very interesting to see that.
I think it's just another example of rising above adversity. I didn't know I was rising above adversity, but we see it all the time. And that's just something I learned to do. And then people around us, so many have that victim mentality, and they would see another side of that. They made me do this, they made me do that. And yeah, when I was in the middle of it, I didn't get it, didn't like it, didn't understand it. But now I look back and I'm extremely grateful.
It's so hard when you're in the middle of those storms of life to see the lesson that can come from that. Because like you said, man, it's that victim mentality of why is this happening to me opposed to why is this happening for me? I think that's something with our faith. And when you put your faith in God, you got to know that there is a different plan, not one that we can always make sense of. And part of my story too, man, like I'll never be able to solve what took place. I'll never have answers for that. So it's about trusting and knowing that there is a reason for things that take place. And do you say, is there anything else that you see now that you didn't understand back then?
Yeah, it's got a couple of points like structure and discipline. Those are acts of love. They weren't control. I didn't see it as love. I thought Roseanne was mean. And she's probably going to smile when she hears this now. She's changed a lot as well. And so have I, obviously. And, growth comes through discomfort. You don't understand it at the time, but so much growth. That's all of my growth has come through my discomfort that I can look back on. And I'll get into my cancer battle at another time. I was talking to some guys the other day, and one of the best things that ever happened to me was cancer. And the lessons I learned from that, and I'm not going to get into those now, but yeah, those lessons that I've learned right there that I just shared, vital. How about you? You got any reflections on your when you lost Josh, what lessons you might have learned?
Yeah. Well, to your point right there too, man, you saw that for what it was as an opportunity, not a final kind of ending to your story, right? You saw it as an opportunity to continue to grow, and maybe you saw it as a way to get better, different parts of your life too. And your point about how the parenting part, dude, that's one thing. Can you explain to my kids next time you see them that discipline is love? It's coming from a good place, right?
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
They'll get it in 20 years.
Yeah. And not to segue us too much, man, but Amber and I really try to really talk to them and explain things through at an age-appropriate time that they can understand that. Because I think the generation of parenting that you have now, I think we've learned from the examples that we had that if they would have just explained things differently to me at the time, I might not have liked it, but maybe I would have agreed differently too. So I like that you brought that up, man.
It was more of a lot of times it was more of a dictatorship for things that we might have seen. I don't know if that's the correct way to put it, but you know what I mean? You didn't have a choice. You listened, you did what you were told. That's not the kind of parent I was for my son. Just definitely didn't try to be. And I think you made a great point. With the way you and Amber are raising.
Thank you, man. Back then, kids were seen and not heard, right?
Yeah, that's fact.
Very much different.
It's a fact.
I don't want to say back then like you're that old, man.
Yeah. 35, 55, 20 years. I mean, I could be your daddy, but
yes,
technically I could. Just saying.
Yeah, you're right, man.
My son's only 6 years younger than you are. That doesn't even seem right.
That's crazy, man.
It is.
No, not to derail us there in that conversation too much, but I think that was a great point that you brought up. So I wanted to highlight that. But yeah, man, the reflections that I had from this experience is that relationships are fragile, right? You can't ever take them for granted. We never really know the next time we're going to get to sit down with our loved ones. And for me, it was kind of a reminder, and I still struggle with this time, to be fully present when I'm around people and to really show people that you care and that you're there for them. And at times that looks like putting your phone down and just really engaging in that conversation and really being curious and wanting to know how their day was. So just don't take it for granted and show up, continue to show up and be there even when you can't fix anything. Because like we talked about, that was a thing that I think left me very confused because there was no answer for why or what really took place. And I was at such a young age, I don't really know that was even on my radar of things that could happen. And especially if you think about someone that I held so highly, and I always will, he's a very powerful person to me. But to know there was something that could have bothered him that way, I just didn't really realize that could impact people the way it did. Even when you don't feel like you have the answers, even when you can't solve something, it doesn't mean that you still can't show up and be there for the people that you love and care about.
You can still listen. You can still be an ear. And that's a lot of what we do in the Dad Edge as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Boom. All right.
One thing we talked about too is this is very authentic. We didn't know going into it that this was a topic that we were going to have. And as we got together behind the scenes and talked about it, Bobby pointed it out to us that we didn't realize the impact it had on us, and we didn't clearly get across our message because there was still a lot of things that we had to go back through and kind of process ourselves. It caught me off guard, like all these topics will when we continue to go through this. But when I decided to talk about something like my cousin Josh, he's always had a huge impact on me, and those that are close around me know that. but I guess it's not something I dig into every single day to remind myself of what took place and kind of go back into those feelings. And it's just a reminder to all of us that there are some things that we've gone through. We may not really understand it completely at this time, but it may take some extra work to kind of go back and see, how was I feeling? What can I kind of process from this or learn from this too?
Yeah. It was a lot for me to process as well. And as you saw earlier when we were trying to record, I kept rambling a lot and I got off topic because I do tend to do that. So working on our structure, being a lot more intentional in what we say and how we say it. Because like we've mentioned many times, and we will continue to say it, we're growing. This is new to both Paul and I. We're enjoying it, but unpacking my story through this, and I got emotional when we were talking about it earlier. Now, not that I'm ever going to hide from being emotional, but it made it hard for me to talk. So yeah, I think we both have core lessons that we've learned from this. What are some things that you've taken away from just our discussion? And we've spent hours on this one alone, just talking it through.
Yeah. What's tough, man, too, is like we talked about, we try to keep this to a certain time frame, so we don't want to go into it forever. But honestly, I feel like we could have went back and forth, and we did, trying to narrow it down, trying to really take away pieces from this. This is something that we'll probably continue to discuss as well, because the impact that these things had on us. So we don't ever want to do our stories or our memories a disservice, but we are trying to kind of keep it shorter for the engagement. Obviously, we don't want to bore people to death, because we could obviously continue to have our own journal entries with each other. But for the first thing that pops to mind for me, man, is care deeply for people. Like I said earlier, you just don't know. We lost a family member a couple of years ago, and it's like, it was right on the holidays, and you just don't know. You don't know when your last holiday is with somebody. And I guess even more of a scary thing is, if you look at your life expectancy, this is never fun to do, by the way. If you estimate that you'll live to 80 some years old, break that down to how many holidays you have left, and ask yourself, how present do you want to be at those holidays with the people that it may be the last time you have everybody in that room together at that time.
Yeah, that's a realization that I'm maybe even facing a little more than you, being mid-50s. I've lost. Not saying that you're not dealing with that, but it's coming for you, right? I've lost both parents. I lost a grandparent in the last 5 years. I lost a brother 2 years ago. And this isn't for sympathy. This is just facts.
Mm-hmm.
It's really taught me to be ultra aware of the little bit of time I have. And Jesse Eitzler talks about this concept. Say your parents live in Florida. I mean, he says it much better than I probably will. Well, maybe they have 10 years left, right? 10 years left to live. Well, you visit them once a year, maybe twice. So you have 10 more visits with them, maybe 20. If you really break it down like that, and you have people that you can visit more often, you can spend more time with, you can pick up the phone with, I highly encourage you to do it, because I would give everything to talk to my parents again. My grandpa, my grandma, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Each 3 of those I watched take their last breath. I was with them, my dad, my mom, and my brother. And that's hard.
Yeah.
It's also a privilege to be able to be there, but that's hard.
Yeah. It's one thing that you brought that conversation piece up, man. I would give anything to have one more conversation with my cousin Josh, or my grandpa, who I was named after too, my mom's dad. You just never know, man. And I never really got a chance to know my grandpa, so it's always stuck with me. And I've challenged myself as I've grown through my growth process to really break generational things with my dad. I mean, he's done an incredible job with raising me and being there for me in a way that his dad wasn't for him. So now it's on me to kind of get past that. And while I have a son, it's like, I want to take everything my dad gave me and build off that, because you're right. There's going to be a day where I can't call my dad and say, Dad, I got something going on. Can you help me with this? And I'm going to sit there, and I know this is near and dear to you, man. And sit there and say, I wish I could just make that call one more time, man. We're taking that time that we have with these people for granted, because we truly never know.
We do never know. A lesson that I learned several from this, but one that kind of sticks out is real growth. It just takes time. You might not see it right away. I didn't see it in high school. Started to see it in college, that, hey, I wouldn't be here. But had I not done that, had I not went through all that, I wouldn't have met my wife in college. I wouldn't have my son. Everything that we experience, Paul, no matter how small it seems at the time, is pivotal in where we are today. Think about that. Everything. It's really hard to imagine. Maybe even the roads you take a certain day because you went a different way. You were in an accident. But to think that we don't have a higher power, which a lot of people don't believe in, that is pivotal in the path we take. I'm not saying he guides us, because he does give us free will, but yeah, I just can't comprehend someone not believing.
That's even crazier though, because when I was talking about how the version of you that became possible based off that school, I didn't realize, like, you're right. It led you to the college that you went to. It led to your marriage and where you're at and your son, that legacy. It's like, you're right, man. You almost have to flip that to times where it's like, if you get stuck in traffic or something happens where you're late for work, it could have been a blessing. It could have prevented you from being somewhere where there was a car accident. It could have prevented something else from happening. So again, thinking about everything kind of happens for us instead of to us, because sure, you can consume and believe that mindset of things continue to happen negatively to me, but I think that's a choice. And do you really want to live with that choice every single day? We're just inviting that negativity to yourself as well.
Yeah, and being that choice, just think how exhausting it would be to live
Oh
with that
man.
negative mindset. People that are all around me, I'm sure all around you as well, and we see it, and I pray for them because I see it, but you can't change them because I've been there. But I've had times where I felt sorry for myself, where I was, oh, this happened to me. What, poor me, and I said that before, but uh, it's so much more empowering to live with that growth mindset. And to me, that's the only way to be.
Dude, you'll get into the story more at a later date of the cancer and everything you survived, man. You would have had every reason to have that mindset, and I don't think people would have faulted you for it, but you chose not to, which just speaks to another incredible piece about the mindset that you have, man, to be able to come through those lessons and remain in that mindset. So that's something you obviously get into at a different date too, and I'm excited for you to share that one.
Yeah,
But like
I
I
look
said, man,
forward to that.
people wouldn't have blamed you, and it's not a past, but it's just the reality, right? So my next core lesson from this, man, is don't assume everything is fine. People are always fighting battles that we don't know and we don't see and we can't, right? So if I would have met you while you're going through your stuff, obviously it might have been a little more visible when you're going through cancer, but like the reality is you just don't know. People may have got a phone call that they lost a loved one. They might have got a phone call that turned out that they were diagnosed with something. So it's always assume the best about people, and this can be really, really hard. And I still struggle with this myself, but it's one of those
It
things
can.
where, yeah, it's because unfortunately, dude, and I've seen this through work, there are people that just continuously make bad decisions and they do hurt people. And it does happen, right? But you still don't have to allow that into your inner peace within your family and within your world. So it's really try to assume the best about people because you never know what they're carrying behind those doors of inside their heart too.
Yeah, we definitely hope people will look at it that way when we're struggling. So why wouldn't we want to look at it that way for someone else? And probably my core lesson or something I think I learned would be what felt like a curse at the time turned out to be such an amazing blessing. And I've already kind of explained what that means to me, but gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Just so grateful for the things that have happened to me, for the unanswered prayers, for the tough situation when I was in ninth grade, that it's really been pivotal in who I am today. Seeing that we talk about our faith quite a bit, which we're going to, the podcast is not just about faith, but that's a huge part of both mine and Paul's life. So each episode we will share a verse that kind of goes along with the theme. And today I couldn't help but choose James 1, 2-4. I'm going to read it to you. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.
Very timely for today's topic. And the reflection too is James is not telling us to pretend that pain is good. He's reminding us that God uses the pain to build something deeper in us. If we lean in and stay faithful, we can come out stronger and not weaker. God will never waste the pain that we go through.
Yeah, the book of James has some amazing lessons. If I'm honest, this verse, it just hits me between the eyes. I mean, every hard thing that I've faced, whether it be the cancer, the childhood stuff, which a lot of people go through, setbacks, struggles, they weren't the end. They were just the training. God was building endurance in me, Paul, and I couldn't see it at the time, but I can definitely see a lot of it now.
To build off that verse too, man, we always like to leave the listeners with some kind of journaling prompt or challenge or just something to kind of look back on things. As we've gone through this growth process with the Dad Edge and everything that we try to do, reflecting back on this stuff can be huge for us. So the thing we have for you guys today is what experience from your past, whether painful, confusing, or challenging, shaped who you are today more than you realized at that time?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some real good discoveries if you really take your time to do these lessons and these reflections. So a couple of the I'd say teachable lessons that we came up with would be struggles you don't understand right now. They're probably more often than not preparing you for your future. So just think about that. Paul and I both described things that were ugly at the time, and his was more tragic than mine, of course, but there's no need to compare, just different situations. And second of all, pain, it's not wasted if you learn from it. So throw away that victim mentality, go with the growth mindset. Yeah, that might sound hokey to some, but it's a fact. It works.
Absolutely. The challenge that we have for you, think back in a time where something happened in your life that really shaped you. Really dive into that and kind of see some lessons that you can pull from that with that different mindset. Or take a few minutes today to reach out to someone who's helped shape your life. Thank them, whether it's a quick text, a phone call, a letter, whatever it may be. Just remember, don't take those relationships for granted.
Having said that, I'm going to reach out to my stepmother this week and thank her. So I'll do that before we actually post this podcast. But that's a great point, Paul.
Well, Joey, as we wrap this up, one other piece of feedback that I got, a couple friends reached out. They really liked the recommendation of the book, Chop Wood, Carry Water, that you brought up. If I'm going to keep bringing those forward, I got another one for you guys, The Magic of Thinking Big. A key takeaway from that for me is it's not about what you know when you start, but it's about what you learn and what you can put to use. And that really hits home for us as we go through this and continue to push this passion and learn from the things that we're doing. Because I think that we could have sat here and continued to make sure that we had everything perfect and really nitpicked it, but that wouldn't have been the true meaning of what we're doing. So we're going to get this out there. We're going to keep learning as we go. Because otherwise, I think we probably would have talked ourselves out of even doing it.
Yeah, we would have never done it for sure. For instance, Paul and I have different roles in this. I'm doing kind of the back end stuff because IT is my background. I didn't know how to edit a podcast. I didn't know how to push a podcast to different platforms. Paul does a lot of the structure as far as helps us lay everything out. We didn't know what we were doing, but we figured it out somewhat. The thing is, we're just going to get better. We're going to get better. And on that note, we want to encourage you guys, if you're struggling, reach out to us. Send an email. I'll put our email address, which is brotherhoodforged@gmail.com. You can also reach us by putting comments. So for future episodes, we'd like to have at least one segment where we answer a question. So if you have something you're struggling with or you might need a little guidance, we'll do our best to answer it. And if it's a big enough topic, we might make an entire podcast out of that. So we need you as much as you hopefully need us. Without you guys, we're nothing. We're nothing without viewers. We're nothing without listeners. And we're doing this because we're just passionate about really helping other people.
Well said, man.
If this helped you in any way, share it with somebody who needs it.
And if it's not too much to ask, please leave a quick review. It helps us reach more people.
So keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep trusting in Jesus.
Thanks for being here with us on Brotherhood Forged. We'll see you next time.